Hey, what's up everybody? Today I wanted to do a little bit of lore history on how the WonderSwan came into the light for all people today. And I had only found out about the gem of a console while watching a buying guide by Metal Jesus, so definitely check it out if you do want to see more into this system and like what to purchase or what accessories to get, etc. You know, the whole shebang or whatever. And the whole gimmick and its creation had me pretty interested, and I wanted to share with you lovely viewers today. So without further ado, let's get into this bit of lore history on the WonderSwan. First things first, let's get into the creator of the WonderSwan, Mr. Yoko, and his beginnings of his early career. He was first hired by Nintendo in 1965 to maintain the assembly of machines that were used to manufacture these Hanafuda cards. And basically, these are a type of Japanese cards that are used to play a variety of games. And funny enough, from the series of Yakuza, they were also introduced. And I believe it goes back from Yakuza, I want to say maybe the third game to the fifth one, but I'm not entirely too sure. And it's possibly in the seventh, but I haven't actually seen it for myself, saying that I'm still currently like in the middle of it. But anyways, let's get back to the subject at hand. So one day in 1966, Hiroshia, the president of Nintendo, had came to a factory where Yoko was hired and took a look at one of his toy creations, which was an extending arm that he had made just for fun. But the president had ordered him to develop the creation for the holidays, and it turned out to be a huge success for Nintendo. And from there, he would later create the 10 billion barrel puzzle, a miniature remote controlled vacuum cleaner called, insert name here, a baseball throwing machine called the Ultra Machine, and finally a love tester, up until Nintendo would start making video games around 1974. Around this time, he had also become a game designer, and while traveling, Mr. Yoko had saw a bored businessman playing with his calculator, and he would get the idea for making the Game & Watch series, which had over 60 different types, and it's pretty cool. And I do believe that Nintendo had released one of these devices last year, but I haven't seen it in stores personally, so it may have been bought up by these goddamn scalpers. But you know how those scalpers be, especially with them new consoles. But So anyways, but a few years later, Yamcha had made him the president, supervised Donkey Kong, and later will lead him to continue work on the Mario Brothers with Miyamoto. So Yoko had basically gained all these different types of experiences, and shortly after helping developing or supervising Mario Brothers, he would make several games such as Kid Icarus, Metroid, and the best boy, Rob, aka Comp. If you know who you are, this shouts out to you, man. But this would be nothing when he would eventually create one of the first handheld devices, and that is the legendary Game Boy, which I'm sure many of you have had in your lifetime. There were many great games on this console, but that's for another video in the future. Anywho, after this creation, we would see the creation of the Virtual Boy, and if you want to see a great video that covers the absolute failure of the Virtual Boy, definitely check out AVGN's video on the subject, and it's a classic era YouTube video that gets better as time comes around, so real good. But we all know how the Virtual Boy was basically a massive failure, and it's a real shame seeing that some great games came on the console. But I found something a bit spicy on the subject of the Virtual Boy, and that is, according to David Sheriff's book, Game Over, Yoko never actually intended for the console to be released in its present form. However, Nintendo pushed the Virtual Boy to market so that it could focus more on development towards the Nintendo 64. So yeah, it's not entirely his fault that this machine was practically a failure, seeing that, Nintendo being the money-hungry boys that they are. But, I digress. And after the failure of the Virtual Boy, this will lead your boy, Yokio, to leave Nintendo with several of his subordinates to form a new company called Koto. And he would lead development of the Bandai WonderSwan. And this would be Bandai's first and only portable system that holds a distinct place in history. This system would be a direct competitor with the Game Boy and many of Nintendo's design philosophies, so it was no laughing matter, and just look how sick this game console looks, and the games on the system were completely insane, and compared to what the Game Boy had around this time, the system would completely kick the Game Boy's ass when it came to these games. But that's not the only reason why this WonderSwan was a superior system to the Game Boy. While the Game Boy Pocket could run for 20 hours on a pair of AAA batteries, the WonderSwan could squeeze as much as 40 hours from a single AA battery. And all of this for the incredible price of 4,800 yen, so it was roughly around $42 at the time. Not only was the WonderSwan cheap, it also had many features on the system which would require the user to rotate the system to play in horizontal mode for most of its arcade shooters. So it's a real shame that this would be the final creation of him, seeing that he had sadly died in October 4th of 1997 due to him riding a car driven by his associate Itsuo on the expressway. When a vehicle rear-ended a truck and after two men had left the car to inspect the damage, Yoko was hit and fatally injured by a passing car. So it's a real shame that the legendary designer had died this way, but we'll never forget the greatness he had brought to the video game industry, and his memory will live on. And that's it for the WonderSwan history and its creator. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little snippet of history, and you boys take care, or gals, and I'll see you guys in the next video. So I'm CRISPR, and take care and have a good week.